I'm not married. I don't have an apartment. I have no home. It's very disturbing to me.
She was once considered the pure.
Do you remember the beautiful girl with the sweet smile who made millions fall in love with her on the Partridge Family? Susan Day captured hearts all across America back in the 1970s when she played Laurie Partridge on that iconic show. She was young, talented, and seemed destined for a lifetime of Hollywood success. But what happened next is something nobody could have predicted. Today, at 72 years old, Susan Day's story will touch your heart in ways you never imagined. Get ready, because this is a journey through triumph, struggle, heartbreak, and ultimately, a kind of peace that only comes after walking through fire. Susan Day was born on December 10th, 1952, in Pekin, Illinois. Her childhood wasn't filled with the glitz and glamour you might expect from a future television star. In fact, tragedy struck her family early when her mother passed away when Susan was just 8 years old. Can you imagine losing your mom at such a young age? That kind of loss leaves a mark on your soul that never really goes away. Her father remarried, and the family moved to New York, where Susan grew up trying to find a place in a world that suddenly felt much bigger and lonelier than before. As a teenager, Susan began working as a model. She was stunningly beautiful with those bright eyes and that girl-next-door charm that made everyone feel like they knew her personally. But modeling was just paying the bills. Susan had bigger dreams. She wanted to act. She wanted to tell stories and make people feel something real. Little did she know that her big break was just around the corner, and it would change her life forever. In 1970, when Susan was just 17 years old, she auditioned for a new television show called The Partridge Family. The show was about a widowed mother and her 5 children who form a rock band and travel around in a colorful bus having adventures and singing songs. It sounds simple, but it became one of the most beloved shows of that entire decade. Susan won the role of Laurie Partridge, the eldest daughter. She had never acted professionally before, but something about her natural talent and genuine presence on screen made her perfect for part. The Partridge Family became a massive hit almost overnight. Every Friday night, families across America gathered around their television sets to watch the Partridge Family sing, laugh, and navigate the ups and downs of life together. Susan's character, Laurie, was smart, kind, and relatable. Young girls wanted to be her. Young boys had crushes on her. Parents trusted her wholesome image. Susan Day became a household name, and her face was everywhere, from magazine covers to lunchboxes to posters on bedroom walls. But here's where the story starts to take a turn. While millions of people thought they knew Susan Day, the truth is that she was struggling behind the scenes in ways that nobody could see. The pressure of fame at such a young age was overwhelming. She was still a teenager trying to figure out who she was, but the world had already decided who they wanted her to be. She had to look perfect, act perfect, and never show any cracks in the armor. That kind of pressure does something to a person, especially when you're still just a kid yourself. During her time on the Partridge Family, Susan developed a serious eating disorder. She became obsessed with staying thin because the entertainment industry made it clear that her appearance was everything. She would later open up about how she struggled with anorexia and bulimia for years. She looked at herself in the mirror and never felt good enough, no matter how many people told her she was beautiful. This is the dark side of fame that nobody talks about when they are watching the glossy television shows. Behind Susan's smile was a young woman who was hurting deeply and didn't know how to ask for help. The Partridge Family ended in 1974 after 4 successful seasons. Susan was 21 years old and faced a question that terrifies every young actor. What comes next? She had been Laurie Partridge for so long that people couldn't see her as anyone else. In Hollywood, getting typecast is like being put in a beautiful prison. Everyone recognizes you, but nobody will give you a chance to show what else you can do. Susan fought hard to break free from that image. She took on different roles, trying to show the world that she was a serious actress with range and depth. She appeared in movies and television shows throughout the late 1970s, but nothing quite clicked the way the Partridge Family had. The rejection was painful. Every audition she didn't get felt like another confirmation that maybe she really was just Laurie Partridge and nothing more. Then, in 1986, something incredible happened. Susan landed the role of Grace Van Owen on a brand new legal drama called L.A. Law. This wasn't a sitcom about a singing family. This was a serious, adult drama about lawyers dealing with complex cases and even more complex personal lives. Susan's character was a prosecutor, smart and tough and complicated. It was exactly the kind of role she had been dreaming about for years. L.A. Law became one of the most popular and critically acclaimed shows of the late 1980s and early 1990s. Susan Dey was finally getting the recognition she deserved as a talented actress. In 1988, she won a Golden Globe Award for Best Actress in a Drama Series. Can you imagine how that must have felt? After years of fighting to be taken seriously, after all the rejection and doubt, she was standing on stage holding that award and knowing that she had proven everyone wrong. But even during the successful period of her career, Susan remained intensely private. She rarely gave interviews, and when she did, she was guarded about her personal life. She had learned the hard way that fame was a double-edged sword. Yes, it brought opportunities and recognition, but it also meant that strangers felt entitled to know everything about you. Susan decided early on that she would keep parts of herself sacred and protected from the public eye. Susan's personal life had its share of heartache, too. She was married twice, first to a man named Leonard Hershon in 1976, but that marriage ended in divorce in 1981. Then in 1988, she married Bernard Safronsky, a television producer. They had one daughter together named Sarah. Susan poured her love into being a mother, determined to give her daughter a more stable and private childhood than she had experienced in the spotlight. L.A. Law ended in 1994, and once again, Susan faced the question of what comes next. But this time, her answer surprised everyone. She started to step back from acting. She took on fewer and fewer roles, and eventually she seemed to disappear from Hollywood altogether. People started asking, where did Susan Dey go? What happened to the star who had won a Golden Globe and captured America's heart twice over? The truth is that Susan made a conscious choice to walk away from the entertainment industry. She had spent decades in the spotlight, from the age of 17 until her early 40s, and she was tired. She was tired of the pressure, tired of the scrutiny, tired of having to be on all the time. She wanted to live a quiet life, to be a mother to her daughter without cameras following them, to wake up in the morning and just be Susan, not Susan Dey the actress. In the years that followed, Susan became something of a mystery. She rarely made public appearances. She didn't do interviews. She wasn't on social media sharing updates about her life. In an age where celebrities document their every move online, Susan Dey chose silence and privacy. Some people speculated that she had health problems or that something terrible had happened. But the reality was much simpler and, in its own way, more profound. Susan had simply chosen herself. She had chosen peace over fame. There were occasional sightings of Susan over the years. Someone would spot her at a grocery store or walking in her neighborhood, and they would report back that she looked happy and healthy. She had aged naturally, without the plastic surgery and procedures that are so common in Hollywood. She let her hair go gray. She wore comfortable clothes. She smiled when people recognized her, but she didn't seek out attention. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of Susan's later life involves a relationship with her former Partridge Family castmates. In 2005, there was a reunion of the cast for a television special, but Susan Dey declined to participate. She also reportedly turned down chances to reconnect with David Cassidy, who had played her brother Keith Partridge on the show. David, who passed away in 2017, had spoken in interviews about how he wished he could have remained friends with Susan, but she had kept her distance from that entire chapter of her life. Why would Susan do that? Why would she turn her back on people she had spent 4 years working with during such a formative time in her life? The answer is both simple and complicated. For Susan, the Partridge family represented a time of enormous struggle. Yes, it brought her fame and opened doors, but it also brought her pain, pressure, and an eating disorder that nearly destroyed her. Sometimes, moving forward means leaving certain things behind, even if other people don't understand why. David Cassidy's death in 2017 was particularly difficult for many Partridge Family fans. David had battled alcoholism and dementia in his final years, and his death at the age of 67 shocked the world. Many people wondered if Susan Dey attended his funeral or reached out to his family, but there were no reports that she did. This silence led to even more speculation about Susan's state of mind and her reasons for remaining so isolated from her past. But here's what we need to understand about Susan Dey. Her choices, as difficult as they might be for fans to accept, are about self-preservation. She has spent the last few decades healing from wounds that most of us can't even imagine. The entertainment industry chews people up and spits them out, and Susan was lucky enough to get out before it completely destroyed her. She's not hiding because she's broken. She's living quietly because she's finally found peace. Today, at 72 years old, Susan Dey is reportedly living somewhere in upstate New York. She's far from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, far from the flashing cameras and the constant demand for her time and attention. She's with her family, enjoying her privacy, and living life on her own terms. She doesn't owe us explanations or updates or reunions. She gave us years of entertainment, and now she's taking care of herself. What happened to Susan Dey at 72 isn't a tragedy in the way that some celebrity stories are. She didn't fall into addiction or lose everything or end up broken alone. What happened to Susan Dey is that she survived. She survived an industry that tried to define her, control her, and consume her. She survived the eating disorders that could have killed her. She survived the pressure of being famous before she was old enough to even understand what that meant. And she came out the other side, not as a Hollywood legend doing interviews and making appearances, but as a woman who chose herself and her own well-being over everything else. There's something incredibly powerful about that choice. In a world that tells us we need to constantly share, perform, and prove our worth, Susan Dey walked away and said no. She said that her peace of mind was more important than fame. She said that her relationship with herself and her family mattered more than maintaining a public image. That takes courage. That takes strength. That takes a level of self-awareness that most people never achieve. When we look back at Susan Dey's career, we see two distinct periods of success. We see the teenage girl who charmed America as Laurie Partridge. We see the mature actress who proved her talent on L.A. Law. But when we look at Susan Dey's life as a whole, we see something even more important. We see a survivor. We see a woman who learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from what's hurting you, even if the whole world is telling you to stay. Susan's story is a reminder that celebrities are human beings with real struggles, real pain, and real needs for privacy and peace. We consume their entertainment and feel like we know them, but we don't really know what they are going through behind closed doors. We don't know what it cost them to maintain that public persona. For Susan, the cost was too high, and she had the wisdom to recognize that before it was too late. If Susan Dey could speak to us today, maybe she would want us to know that it's okay to step back when life gets too overwhelming. It's okay to choose peace over success. It's okay to disappoint people if it means saving yourself. These are lessons that go far beyond Hollywood. These are lessons about being human and honoring your own needs, even when the world expects something different from you. The fact that Susan Dey has managed to maintain her privacy for so many years in an age of constant surveillance and social media is remarkable in itself. She has drawn a boundary and held it firm, despite the curiosity and the questions and the speculation. She has proven that you can say no to fame and still live a full and meaningful life. You don't have to keep performing forever. You don't have to keep giving pieces of yourself away until there's nothing left. So when you see those old episodes of the Partridge Family or clips from L.A. Law, remember that the beautiful, talented woman on your screen went through more than you could ever know. Remember that she fought battles with herself and with an industry that wanted to control her. Remember that she won those battles by choosing to walk away. And remember that at 72 years old, Susan Dey is exactly where she wants to be, living the life she chose on her own terms. That's not something to cry about. That's something to celebrate. Susan Dey's story is ultimately one of triumph, not tragedy. She didn't let Hollywood destroy her. She didn't lose herself in the fame. She found her way out and found peace, and that's a happy ending that really matters. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and let us know in the comments what Susan Dey means to you. Did you grow up watching the Partridge Family? Do you remember her incredible performance on L.A. Law? Share your memories with us. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss another story about the stars who shaped our lives. We bring you the real stories behind the fame, the struggles, and the triumphs of the celebrities you love. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, everyone fighting battles we know nothing about. Be kind, be understanding, and take care of yourself the way Susan Dey learned to take care of herself. See you in the next video.